live, recording.
All right. Hello, everybody. Back for another MoonCats Monday. We will call this week The Cats Will Play because we're going to be talking a lot about metaverses and games, including Grav Ball. So let it jump into sort of what we'll be covering today. Feedback during presentations. Um, so there is a new feature that lets you chat within a voice channel. Um, Although we have a specific MoonCats Monday channel that we will be specifically looking for feedback in, because I don't like the way that they've done sort of the text inside of voice chats. It's kind of super awkward at the moment. So we will be pausing briefly after each slide to take all of those burning questions. And this is sort of based on feedback from some of the community members. Um, Basically, I had some people come to me and say, I felt like I needed to hang on to my questions until the end. And then I didn't remember what they were by the end of the presentation. So you do not need to hang on to your questions. Please write them down in the MoonCats Monday channel as they come to you. They will get addressed as relevant. And think of that sort of MoonCats Monday channel as an open dialogue channel. If, tomorrow you wake up and you have a vivid dream about the jump port and want to ask a question that was specific to the things that we talked about here, drop it into the MoonCats Monday channel. We do check that outside of MoonCat Monday days. All right. Liquidlands. This has kind of been an exciting last couple of weeks. Having Liquidlands has been very fun. Of course, cats rule and all other collections to rule. We topped the leaderboards for like almost 2 weeks solid, and then Wandernauts got organized. So, they are very organized. Um, yeah, they basically came along and like stamped out 250 land at one point on Sunday. Starcade fought back and they were able to get up to like 150 land on their own. So we clearly see that with organization, um, as a collection, we can hold quite a bit of the world. And so, for those who are not here for the presentation a couple of weeks ago, Liquid Lands is a game that is free to play with any included collection, and you don't need to pay anything, and you can hold up to 10 land at a time. Um, Mooncats and Starcade Fighters, and to a lesser extent, Plant Friends, are sort of allied together, so try not to attack those factions. Obviously, there is no hard way to enforce this. Official alliances are coming in game soon. TM. So there will be some sort of in-game notification that is like, hey, this is a faction that we are allied with. Maybe you shouldn't attack them. I don't believe it will um, actually block you from attacking them. If you own a country, let us know in Liquid Land so Mooncats can target cuddling those lands. Um, we are being dropped regular alpha for places to expand. Watch for those, share your own. Tusk and I, a couple times a day, do try to call out good targets. Um, some of those you need to act fairly quickly on, some of those will be ongoing um, opportunities to attack. We have talked a little bit about rating, although we may need to sort of have a longer conversation about rating on our next MoonCat Mondays. How does it work? What is the sort of ideal target for rating that you're looking for? Also, we are considering purchasing a piece of land that would belong to the MoonCats community, which would gather raw bricks to reward small power bricks to our starting players. Um, we haven't sort of finalized what all those details will look like, but the vote will very likely go to the MoonCat Pop DAO. At the moment, Midnight and I have each purchased a country, and we are sort of comparing what those daily yields look like um, to sort of give people an idea of how frequently the community wallet would be handing out bricks. It would probably be a brick or two every week or two. So that's sort of our soft testing so far. That being said, we are pretty consistently reaching over 100 held land as a collection. And this is a really important landmark because Dave noted a couple of weeks ago when we did a deeper dive into Liquidlands, that that 100 plus mark is meaningful in the next phase of development, which is likely to land this month. In fact, it's probably going to be as early as this week. We are going to be continuing contests for plus defense bricks of various sizes. And if you missed the Twitter spaces that happened on Friday, Tuss and Dave got together, and I was there as well, and we sort of talked about different strategies for holding lands, the advantages of raiding, what to look for when raiding, what to look for when attempting to secure and hold land, the psychological advantages of attack versus defense bricks, and we definitely plan to have more of those in the future. If you missed it, we are going to put up a version of that Twitter Spaces on the MoonCats YouTube, so stay tuned for that. And of course, Dave spilled all the tea, although I do want to preface this, as usual, as this is not financial advice. Please do not look at Liquidlands as an investment tool that you will make money out of it. It is a game and should be played for fun before anything else. But as people know, currently we are playing on one map, which is the world. There is about 1,000 players, and actually I think that number is already out of date. I think Dave said it's more like 1,200 as of this morning. And that's total people that have at least joined the game once. About half of that amount is the daily returning players. And if you're wondering why you can't hold land, the world is getting very busy. As of Saturday morning, when I talked to Dave, and again, this number has changed since the weekend hit. When we were talking Saturday morning, he said it was looking at about 15,000 attacks a day. It's actually closer to 17,000 at this point. And
Wow.
so, all of us have had this question about how does Liquidlands scale up in order for, all of the players to be able to have fun kind of holding land without there being like an incessant amount of churn. And that is the new expansion. So this map expansion back end has been something that Dave has been working on for a few weeks, has been doing a bunch of internal testing on. And the cool thing is this map expansion that he's created is completely scalable. And you'll sort of see how that works as the game progresses. But here is what's coming very shortly, which is realms. And a realm is I'm going to zoom into a single hex on the map. And inside of that hex is more land. And that game space inside of a tile is subdivided just like a country for accruing raw bricks. This is the precursor for cities. I know a few of you that are MoonCatters also hold Crypto Cities, which was the original 2018 project. Those are going to see utilization in the near future. Don't get rid of them. Hang on to them. The one thing that is going to be a little bit different from the overall world map is realms will have location-based sort of strategies to them. So, for example, there will be some realms that the inside of the realm is going to have the most amount of brick accumulation. And as you go out towards the outside edges of the realm, the brick accumulation will be a little slower. And so there's going to be strategy for not just holding a country, but holding inside of a realm is going to be more challenging the closer you are to the middle. Not all realms are going to be like that, but that is one that he definitely said he was going to be experimenting with first. With realms, there is going to be the addition of non-PFP projects. And the one thing that Dave talked about a lot is that this is in particular going to be relevant to other historical projects. For example, Pixel Map and Curio Cards, which I know a lot of MoonCatters also hold as part of their sort of historical wallets. And the cool thing is this opens up multiple uses of certain historical projects. For example, will you keep your MoonCat as an explorer, or as a historical project, will you utilize it to buff your activities inside of a realm? And so the idea is realms are going to be the grounds for experimentation inside of Liquidlands. So there will be different types of rule sets inside of certain realms. Now, none of these examples are 100% confirmed. These were sort of ideas that I was spitballing at Dave, and he said that they sounded interesting, or that these were ideas that he had posited on the Liquidlands Discord. But again, I don't want any of you to base sort of purchases on these specific types of activities. So, potential realms will be a newbie only zone, which might be restricted to certain types of explorers, restricted to certain wallets that haven't come up as a multi wallet situation. There could be veteran only zones, and those veteran only zones might be sort of really intense battle royales where it's like Friday and Saturday only. If you hold these lands, there will be triple the sort of rewards on them, but you can only join into this realm if you are from the top 3 factions. This is where things will come into realms like, if you hold near your own faction, you will gain a strong defensive bonus. If you're attacking near your faction, you will get a strong attack bonus. Those are things that Davis talked about as things he would like to experiment with to see how they work, but they're not going to work on the world map, because it would basically mean that the competition would be over and basically Wandernauts, MoonCats, and Starcades would own everything. And then the other sort of types of realms will be realms that are access gated by certain achievements. So, he talks a lot about, if you hold 100 lands, you will be able to, at no cost, mint an in-game brick. And that in-game brick would be your sort of entry pass into specific realms. Talking about certain realms that you have to have a certain number of bricks, or bricks of a certain size. So I call that the bricky brick hole. And overall, I think I've said this, the realms are going to be the place for experimentation. The rules may change pretty rapidly. And so we will try to keep everybody apprised of what's going on in the different realms. But I think this is going to be really fun. I think this is a very cool expansion. We basically get to be the first people that hear all of these details. So massive alpha for the MoonCats, woot woot. And of course, contest. Come play Liquidlands this week with your MoonCats. Join us in Liquidlands. We call out good places to attack. For example, places that are going to have a good likelihood of raid rewards. Slots that have a high win chance because the wallet that owns that particular collection is exhausted. We try to give opportunities for new members to join, as well as for veteran members to take opportunities. Just remember, we are allied with Starcade fighters and try to avoid taking lands from them, although everybody should feel free to attack Ken. He's the guy that owns Pixel Map. He's a dirty little cheat.
Diplomatic immunity Ken. Go get him.
And so, contest. All MoonCats that have captured at least one land between the end of this presentation, so about noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll do a snapshot Friday, June 10th at 11:30 a.m. Central, around this time on Friday. And we'll randomly choose a winner out of all of those eligible MoonCats, and you will get a very shiny +6 defense brick. And if you missed the recent Twitter spaces around tactics, it is up on Twitter for another few days. We do have a copy of that recording. It will go up on the MoonCats YouTube. Feel free to continue to share strategies or ask questions in the Liquidlands channel. This is definitely a game where we improve together as a team, and that sharing knowledge with other people playing the game is a good thing and something that we want to encourage. All right. At this point, I'm going to stop and let people ask any questions that they have about Liquidlands so far.
Yeah, so feel free to drop anything into the MoonCats Monday channel. Is Dave a robot?
Dave has been amazing, although I was actually having a conversation with Dave over the weekend about like the various sort of roles that he is looking to hire. So if you are interested in sort of some Web3 work and you are good with words or interested in sort of learning how to be a community manager or a social media coordinator, he is looking for someone to write guides. He's looking for a social media manager. He's potentially looking for a community manager, although he's gotten quite a few offers on that. He's definitely looking for a community manager that is experienced. So that's probably not an entry point, but the social media manager position would be, and so would the guides writer. So if you're a wordsmith and you have some interest in some part-time Web3 work, definitely hit him up.
Cool. Looks like we are good to move on.
And since Ken's in the chat, one more reminder to attack Ken. He attacks other MoonCats. All right. Next thing to talk about, ZooDAO. So it's been a little bit quiet on their side of the things, but we have been told at the end of last week that they are nearing the release of their vote-driven battle system. They have chosen Phantom as their application chain. So this week we will be testing and creating the Phantom version of the MoonCats collection to ensure that we shoulder the cost of that. Although we do want to have people understand that moving to the Phantom version of your MoonCat does lock your MoonCat on ETH mainnet, and the 998 compatibility does not carry over onto Phantom. So if they have anything in their inventory as a MoonCat, those won't jump over to Phantom. We are going to test if accessories will make the jump. We presume at this point that they will, but we don't want to say 100% until we actually do our own testing. So the initial release of their vote-driven battle system will require bridging MoonCats to Phantom via the wormhole bridge. This does mean currently you will not be able to play both ZooDAO and Graphball. And yes, this is a shift from their original messaging that their staking would not interfere with project-specific staking. And so we are going to be working with them to sort of address that, because we want you to be able to play a number of games with your MoonCats at the same time. And that means we are looking for ways for the jump port to work as bridging to L2s like this instead, so you as MoonCat owners can participate in a multitude of games and projects. And that means we're going to jump, no pun intended, right to the jump port. So we've talked about the jump port a little bit in terms of how it is going to relate to Graphball, but this is sort of our staking contract. That being said, we do want people to understand, we want people to play Graphball and these other games for fun and not as a primary vehicle for monetary gains. And part of that is because we have been having discussions internally about balancing for fun versus balancing for profit. These are definitely ongoing conversations, and we will be continuing to have them both internally and with the community. For those of you who jumped into Diablo Immortal this weekend, you probably have a much better idea of why we're having these conversations very vigorously. But in essence, for a successful long-term game support, we need this sort of solid framework of the jump port under the hood. And I know that we've talked about this a fair bit, and it isn't visually interesting, and I'm sorry for that. But know that laying down this sort of underlying tech is really important, because we want to ensure the governance and functionality support not only has MoonCats to other projects, but other projects to the MoonCats ecosystem and other Ponderware governance. We definitely want this to be a two-way street so that MoonCats work with other projects and other projects work with MoonCats. So we talked about this on the Discord a little bit, but internal testing for the jump port began last week, so no progress is happening, even if there isn't anything sort of visually we can update people on. And for those who are going to be interested in helping us test from the community, Rinkeby is actually being retired. So we have swapped to, it says Girly or Gorley? I can never remember.
We'll call it Garlic.
Garlic, yes.
Yeah, and I typically pronounce it Goerly, piece of it there, and I think, yeah, it's a multi-pronounced one. I'm not quite sure what the canonical one is.
It's Goily. I don't know. All right. So initially we had said that staking was going to begin in May, and we realized very quickly that we would rather just push it out and make sure that it is right rather than hit a specific date. So the staking launch will be the start of incentive tracking. That hasn't changed. Whatever form that incentive tracking might take. We are definitely sort of having some pros and cons discussions of doing the staking launch before or after the holidays. For those who are outside of North America, Canada Day is July 1st, and the 4th of July is Independence Day in the US. Those are both sort of big get-together, spend time with friends and family holidays. It will probably be a fairly long weekend for the Ponderware staff, and we would hate to like put out the staking project on June 29th, peace out for a week, and then come back and discover things are very, very broken. So know that we're sort of having those conversations just to like make sure that we are around for any troubleshooting. And ideally, Gravball game beta testing will start in August, which will give us a few weeks to squash any bugs with the jump port. One thing that we haven't talked about a ton, but we do want people to be aware of, is the development of the jump port has expanded by necessity to include one other community who will be using the jump port as a custodial holding or staking area for their tokens. Mooncatters, you can probably guess what that is going to be. And we sort of have done this because we are, again, thinking long-term about additional project compatibility. And those are both for projects that have been announced and for some unannounced projects that we are currently in negotiation with. The one thing that we can say for sure is that once you go into the jump port, there will be several portals that you can move your MoonCat out to, which will include Gravball predominantly, but also things like ZooDAO interactions and other projects in the near future. So is there any sort of questions about the jump port staking contract before we continue on?
Take a moment and just watch the MoonCat Monday channel here, see if anything's coming. And if no questions, we'll move on. And you'll always have a chance to ask at the end of the presentation as well. So you can, if you think of something after, just drop it into the channel. Ken says he will destroy all of us, which is our sign to just move on.
Next thing to talk about, loot prints for MoonCats. So the jump port is the custodial place where I apparently did not finish my thought on this slide. So the jump port is a custodial place where MoonCats can then go to use their loot prints because they are blueprints for spaceships. Lore-wise, it is sort of a Deep Space Nine that allows you to either enter a project, which is a game, or some other thing that MoonCats need to be locked up to do, or move to an L2. And of course, we use Star Trek, so if you prefer Star Wars, it's Mos Eisley in space. The jump port is where the ships come and go from, and they transport MoonCats to other regions of space. In other words, an Altair. And sort of the end goal is for MoonCats and their loot prints to be sort of Schrodinger's MoonCats. They will exist both on mainnet and on compatible L2s. At the moment, we are specifically looking at Phantom and Arbitrum. The jump port holds the MoonCat and their loot print in a way that will be understood by other contracts and or lock them in place if needed. To start, you will be able to go in and come out of the jump port with your loot print fairly freely. In the future, there may be tokens or other rewards that have specific lock and unlock qualifiers for applications, and that will be your loot print and your MoonCat. Part of moving into the jump port is going to be having that loot print in the custody of a MoonCat. And at the moment, the ability to move loot prints into a MoonCat's purse and the ability to move MoonCat moments out of a MoonCat purse is a contract call, but we will be finalizing the UI for doing that this week. So watch for an announcement on that. Any questions about loot prints and MoonCats owning loot prints before we move on?
Cool. It'll be very exciting to get 998 interface up and running so everyone can see that going in and out of purse.
Right. So next thing to talk about today is World Wide Web version 2. So I hope everyone remembers that awesome party we had where we totally clashed World Wide Web. Version 2 is hopefully going to fix that. So as of this weekend, there is sort of an alpha where apartment holders, landowners can do some testing, and I believe both Tuss and Midnight Lightning were doing a little bit of that testing. The thing that is most relevant to MoonCats is the new features for apartment holders to do more with their NFT collections in their personal spaces. So this is where MoonCats will wander in apartments, we hope. This is where, in theory, we have been told that that will land. They are potentially looking at doing other sort of interactions inside of apartment holding spaces, like potentially minting pop cans directly from a MoonCat pop vending machine. And in terms, I know a lot of people have been asking when the next party is going to be, and the answer is when World Wide Web v2 is launched. And the answer that we have for, hey, when is that going to be? The answer that we have basically gotten is it's done when it's done. And, you know, bugs have definitely been pushing out not only the launch of the version 2 to the landowners, but I'm sure it will continue to push out for non-land holding users until the bugs are squashed. So when we have news for everybody on when V2 is officially launched and stable, we will be shouting that from the rooftops, but we have no specific dates or expectations from their team when that might be. That being said, we do have staff members that have apartments of various sizes. Apartment 9032 is the penthouse owned by Midnight, and 8801 is a large apartment from Tuss. And we are definitely sort of continuing to have conversations and evaluating how these locations can be leveraged for more MoonCat parties in the future. Some of those parties will be you must have a MoonCat in order to attend. Some of those parties will be you don't need to have a MoonCat to attend. Come learn about MoonCats. And so we're going to be looking at those. And definitely stay tuned to the Metaverse Builders channel. We will be having ongoing conversations in that channel, both about the World Wide Web v2 and other metaverses. And speaking of other metaverses, here's sort of our big news for today. We are actually in discussion with 2 additional metaverses to include both MoonCat and MoonCat-related assets into their worlds. And specifically, this is MoonCat Pop and potential future projects. So we're pretty excited about this. As part of these plans, we are going to be looking for buildlers, cuddlers, hodlers from the broader community. One of these metaverses in particular has offered MoonCats a free boot camp to get a few people up to speed with their specific building systems. This boot camp is 2 hours per day for 5 consecutive days. We are going to be finalizing the days and times, although we are, as far as we're aware, looking at a Monday through Friday commitment in August. If this sounds like something that would be interesting for you, let us know in the Metaverse Builders channel. At the moment, Me6 is not behaving the way that it should, and so if you are interested in getting the Metaverse Builders role, just ping me in the Metaverse Builders channel and say, hey, I want the Builders role, and I will get that to you. Last, but definitely not least, we talked about this a little bit in the last 2 MoonCat Mondays. The MoonCat API Overhaul is in progress. And this is a continuing conversation along with changes based on the MoonCat community sentiment vote regarding accessories. We really want to transition to a structure that can scale more effectively and that can respond to community sentiment votes a little bit faster than we are right now. This will include options for specific metaverses and marketplaces to get exactly the image and trait structures they need. This includes if those locations are unable to get those needs met on-chain efficiently, we will make off-chain alternatives. And in fact, that is specifically going on. We have some discussions happening with both LooksRare and Gem to correct the parsing of MoonCat traits. For both of those specific situations, we are likely creating custom endpoints for those marketplaces to use. Also, since it has come up sort of in conversations, we are updating the API, the MoonCats API, to be Swagger compliant. All of the tools that you need to develop with MoonCats are openly available on the MoonCat community website under build. And we feel like Swagger compliance will allow even easier third-party developers to utilize these API endpoints as desired. Is there any questions about the MoonCats API and sort of where we're going with this, or any sort of technical questions for calling MoonCats with and without accessories?
It looks good. Looks like we can keep moving.
If there are broader questions about anything that we've covered today, now is the time to jump into the MoonCats, our MoonCat Monday channel, and lay out those questions for us.
Opening it to free-for-all. All right, Yuppie dropped one in. Wondering if Midnight and the team could offer their current preferred thinking or thought process behind possible reward systems for GravBall that has come out of the recent brainstorming. Examples: new ERC20 token, a current existing token, something else. Understanding that you're probably still collecting information and haven't decided on any one specific route, could we still talk to it a bit?
Sure, and I think that one, yes, you're correct that there is still information being collected. And on that, also looking at a couple of the different standards as well. Part of my own research into the technical end of it, ERC20 is indeed the base original uh, standard that is out there. Since then, there's been other standards like ERC 777 and some of the other unique things, such as, would it actually be a token on an L2? Those are sorts of questions that if we were to create something custom would be things that would need to be decided upon. So yes, those are still under discussion, and knowing that the infrastructure that we've been focusing on, as mentioned for the jump port feature of the GravBall infrastructure, or just that infrastructure in general, what we're focusing on is being able to track, hey, this thing has happened in the past, or a particular token, be it a MoonCat or another ERC 721, has been in the jump port for a certain amount of time, is on-chain data. In a more general sense, it'll allow us, more time to do research into the reward system, um, and also that it can be plugged in. Of it doesn't need to be Ponderware providing the rewards. That the metadata pieces there give us the opportunity to work with others to be able to say, if a particular group wanted to create a prize pool or a prize award for it, a separate group could do that as well. Piece of it there. So yes, that's still in discussion, and is also a is not work as part of the initial piece. And so yes, some of those decisions have been pushed out beyond the getting the first infrastructure piece in place. So yeah, the first piece of knowing what will be needed for metadata, and then after that, yeah, making decisions about what could be done for those sort of tokens or rewards or other alternatives.
One of the other things that we're sort of starting to have conversations about is Liquidlands and Starcade and some of these other games. There was a column written by an Axie Infinity dev. Um, and one of the things that we're seeing start to gain a lot of traction and we find really appealing is the idea of a soft token. It would be something that would be specifically in game, does not have monetary value on like an on chain token, but does continue to sort of work inside of the GravBall ecosystem. For those that have played Liquidlands, sort of the equivalent of raw bricks. And so that is also an ongoing conversation that we're having. Just because, we've laid out a fair bit of sort of research that we've done on these ERC tokens that are tied to NFTs and tied to sort of gamification of NFTs. And our sort of really deep concern is we see literally the same thing happening every time, which is the token launches at a set price, it jumps up to an all-time high, and then it absolutely crashes out to below the mint price of the token and generally does not recover. And particularly in a market where there is pretty extreme retraction already, launching a token that does that feels like bad juju. And so we definitely want to be responsible to MoonCat's responsive to the current ecosystem in crypto. And so know that sort of our ongoing discussions are definitely still happening, um, and that no sort of absolutely final decision has been made. And apologies that we are being slow on this, but we want to be sure that we get it right. So Pugme also asked, will MoonCat Pop feature in GravBall? Yep. It is still the plan for beta testers to have a MoonCat that has a loot print and a MoonCat Pop in their purse. Further organization of MoonCat Pop inside of GravBall will be probably a game-by-game basis. Will be part of later rule sets that we put out. But we are definitely looking at... sorry, I have really bad hiccups. We're definitely looking at ways to implement MoonCat Pop into Metaverses beyond our own.
Great. Jake Allen, Cat Dad says, now that Coinbase NFT Marketplace is launched, is there any plan to roll out some of the previous collaborations and projects that have been discussed prior?
Yep. So we are going to have a drop that is specific to Coinbase. At the moment, we have not announced it yet because we told Coinbase that we would begin that project when they have auctions, and they told us earlier in the year that auctions were going to be available at launch, and auctions are still not available. So at the moment, we are waiting on them. Coinbase has been kind of disappointing.
Coinbase has been Coinbase. And then follow-up, is Ponderwork currently engaged in IP negotiations, if you can speak at all on it?
Yes. But that is the extent of what I can say. Yeah, sorry. NDAs have been signed. Legal agreements are sort of swirling around. And I can tell you that we are looking into a variety of monetary functions for continuing support of MoonCats. But unfortunately, that is the extent of what I can say currently.
Yeah, and the big sad is on because we can't buy MoonCats right now. So, Pugme, will staking our cats affect their ability to be used in other metaverses like Web 3?
And that's what that piece we're in discussion with, similar to Zoodao, of the idea of making sure if they can utilize the hooks and metadata that are part of the jump port, which is also part of the reason why making sure we get the jump port metadata right as thoroughly as possible, that they can do. So yes, the Ponderworld team is in active communication with the Web3 team, and yes, we'll be continuing to talk with them about possibilities of that. Their ecosystem being already launched already has some of the preferences built in, and they are using, I believe, using the OpenSea API fairly extensively. At least they were in V1. It's yet to be seen what they're doing in V2, and is doing a little bit of waiting for them to launch their V2 before making additional feature requests of them into that. So yes, that will be. Don't have a solid answer on that one yet, but as they launch V2 and we get to know like what the extent of their customization options are within V2, we'll hopefully be able to answer that in the near future.
All right, just watching the channel for any last straggling questions coming in. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Forever hold your purrs.
Haha.
I am a terrible pun master. All right. I think that wraps us up for this week. So in terms of what is coming down the pipeline for MoonCat Mondays, the schedule for the next 6 weeks is going to be a little hither-dither. Probably our next MoonCat Monday is going to be June 27th, as I am actually going to be out part of next week. That will also get us off of the cycle of attempting to have a MoonCat Monday on July 4th, because probably Dan and myself will be the only 2 people around on July 4th. So plan to see the next MoonCat Mondays on June 27th, which is 3 weeks from today, and then we'll have another one likely July 18th. So there will be a couple 3-week gaps instead of every other week coming up, but we will continue to let people know what those dates are going to be and keep you all in the loop for those. So thank you everybody for coming today, and we will see you next time.
Thank you all. Catch you all later.